Hello, my loves. Welcome back to Chemistry with Kismet Tarot. My name is Monica, and today we are diving into Sagittarius energy. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to have a Sagittarius sun or moon or rising. It can be anywhere in your chart. When I started coming back to filming and started addressing how I wanted to do this channel, what felt right, what I felt called to, one of the number one things was going back to sign readings. And instead of splitting them between the two channels, I just wanted to come back to my place of origin, my intention of origin with this channel. And getting into the sign readings, when I originally started doing them, I was doing rising sign messages. And there's a whole playlist for those if you guys are interested in looking at some of the past ones. But I felt like that had narrowed your energy a lot, because over the time off that I took, one of the things that I noticed was that while I would get pulled back to astrology, and especially in reading my natal chart and trying to understand all of my natal energy, I came to understand that no matter what we have within our chart, we have everything in our chart. Nothing can really be separated from another. Even if you have Sagittarius and it's an empty house, you know, you could be watching and think that you're cross-watching, but really this is about that energy that sits in your own chart. That was another one of the intentions for me doing these readings, is that all of these be directed towards the individual that is watching. Because our self-growth is so important. Our personal growth is so important. Understanding ourselves and allowing for that growth and that love for who we are, no matter what we've been through. It's such an important part of the journey. We can hold ourselves to these standards and not realize that we're literally just tormenting ourselves. So I have a original page filled with channeled messages for you guys. And then I got another one today as I was preparing for your reading. So your original messages, I sat down and started channeling on October 24th. And I started channeling them at 14:01 or 2:01 p.m. And I was getting Saturn and Venus as planetary influences, but having it come through, it says Saturn and Venus as planetary influences currently really struck me today, because I did feel an energy shift within your energy prior to me sitting down. One of the reasons why is because I take everything from the point in which I intend to start filming until I am done as part of the message. It's all tied to the energy. So a lot of times, one of the things that I'll see is I will start moving into like Taurian energy. And with Taurian energy, I'm drawn to doing a lot of cleaning around my home, really cleaning up my environment, really smoothing out and creating this beautiful aesthetic and energy around me. Now, some of that did come in this morning, in which, you know, we cleaned up the house, me and my husband and stepson, and I started getting supper prepped because I'm making lasagna. And so I make all of my sauces from scratch usually. And so I wanted to get going earlier in the day when I have more of what I call spoons, more energy, more reserves within from the night before. But today when I sat down, or when I came home and intended to film after all of that, and we had to go do run another errand to get some stuff for the downstairs, I had a breakdown in the store parking lot, because I tire so easily these days with some of my medical stuff going on, which I've talked about on and off on my channel, whether it's community posts or in some videos. But I tire very easily. And it's not something I'm accustomed to yet. And it can feel very limiting to be in that physical state for me. And I was in tears, but then I came home and I decided, you know what, I need to shift this energy so that I can really be open to Sagittarius's energy. And the way that I did that was I came home and I drank some water. I drank a Gatorade, thanks to my sister. Shout out to my sister on that one. And replenished my electrolyte balance and my hydration. And then I took a nice long shower. I took care of my feet, the bottom of my feet. They tend to get really dry. So I did some self-care with that. And then I took a nice long shower and really worked through a lot of very intentional energy as I was in there, clearing and cleansing and restoring and renewing and coming back into balancing and healing energy. But a lot of that, while I do that on a regular basis, today was much more intentional. It was much more focused. And I know that I am kind of on a time crunch because my husband and stepson are out playing basketball and they're going to be back when they're back. You know, I don't know how much time it's going to take them, and it's kind of chilly out. It's, you know, less than 60 degrees outside, but they're out doing their thing so that I can be home and sit here and work through your energies and bring these messages forth. But instead of like rushing through my cleansing and getting into your energy and all of that, I really took my time. And that is where I felt your energy shift. So originally I have all these messages. So I'm going to go through them before we get into your archetype cards and the purpose of this reading. So I got a message about emotional control or control of your emotions. Either way, there's this question of how do you end control to become partners with your emotions? So one of the lessons that I've learned is to recognize when an emotion arises and then become an observer. You're still experiencing the emotion, so you're giving its due, you're giving it the honoring and the respect of its experience, but you're observing the thoughts that come up, because our minds tend to tell us what it is that our emotions mean. But that isn't necessarily the truth. So our mind wants to attach. It wants to attach meaning and understanding so that it can draw parallels so that our emotions have a place inside our mind. It wants some form of control or some form of understanding that makes things make sense. But our minds don't always know how to interpret emotions. And so when we become partners with the emotions, we realize our emotions are teaching us and our mind is coming into a greater awareness. And for us to move into the observer role, we're still experiencing the emotions, but we're taking a step back from the mind and allowing what emotions come up and the thoughts that result from that to show us how our past imbalances can be brought back into balance by allowing the emotions to take the lead. And everybody's going to do that differently. I can talk about these things. For me, I do a lot of journaling, and there are moments or times, phases, what have you, in which I do some really labor-intensive journaling and quite literally write out every thought that I have as I'm experiencing some sort of emotion that I have identified, so that I can understand, these are what my thoughts are telling me. Is this based off of something in the past, or is this something that is occurring in my present moment? That way I can identify whether my thoughts are in reactivity or if they are responding to something. And then I got the numbers 13, 6, 24, and 77. I don't know if any of these are significant. I can tell you that the 6 came through again today, and I will get into that. But then I got teaching flexibility to the wooden puppets. So no strings hold your heart anymore, Sagittarius. No manipulations can hold your power. And I was getting Pinocchio and the storyline of life and this connection of your head and heart and this karmic love of self. And before I get into the messages about your archetype cards and the consciousness and unconsciousness, I did get another question of, are you afraid to traverse the realms that are calling to you? So you may feel this pull. And with Sagittarian energy, you guys have this like expansive nature. There's always a place to study. There's always a place to go. There's always something more that wants to pull you. And oftentimes you want to go. You have this like urge, this I'm ready to go. But sometimes we aren't ready. Sometimes we have to go and we aren't ready. Or sometimes we're ready, but we don't know where to go. Sometimes going within and getting to know ourselves is one of the scariest journeys that we can take. But fear as an emotion and the power of the mind is really coming through here to say, what is it that you're afraid of? What within your mind says that you can't engage with your emotions completely? That you have to be a specific way or you have to operate in a specific way. And you're the link to the wounded healer. You're the link to Chiron. I know a lot of research and information out there, astrologically speaking, separates the centaurs from Chiron. And so it separates Sagittarius from Chiron. But no matter how much I tap into Sagittarian energy or Chiron energy, these two are intertwined. They're interlinked because Chiron is the example of how that Centaurian energy is meant to be, regardless. And Chiron's primary energy is about overcoming abandonment by recognizing that sometimes we are brought into another family. By another's choice, we're essentially adopted in. So Chiron was abandoned by his mother and father, but he was adopted by Apollo. He was taught all of Apollo's gifts and blessings, and he went on to become a mentor and guide to a lot of the demigods and the younger generation. But he also had a deep amount of compassion. And I got this like huge, like slam in your face. Change comes from within, Sagittarius. Change comes from within. And we don't always realize it because our outside world will change, but we don't realize that our outside world tends to change because we have changed. And for me, like I have changed my surroundings and my home a lot over the past few months. And that's because there were these massive changes, these massive shifts occurring within me. But it was also occurring because of a lot of outside events that I realized I didn't have control over. And I had to really work hard at releasing the need for control over those things and then saying, if I don't have control over these things, what do I have control over? How can I harness that control to shift my energy, whether it is internally or externally? And in this case, there was a lot of environmental and external energy needing to be shifted into a more healing environment so that I can more fully accept this. There's a lot of calling to divine feminine energy for you as well, Sagittarius. So as I sat down today, and I'm filming this October 26th, and I'm hoping to get it out later tonight, I got this energy of like Sagittarius continued. But this is where the sixth energy came in. So the sixth house, or your progressed sixth house, the moon in Sagittarius in the first or sixth, progressed moon in Sagittarius, or positively aspecting Sagittarius natal placements. These are like really specific astrological energies that may or may not resonate. It doesn't mean that it is indicative of whether this is meant for you or not, or even like applies to your natal chart, but these are energies that I was really getting. And so with these energies, especially with the sixth house and the progressed sixth house being very prominent here, and the moon being tied to that, this is about the growth that we have in learning how to love ourselves the work that we do out in the world, and whether or not we are loving ourselves first and foremost, and then bringing that energy into the work that we do. Oftentimes we don't realize there is a direct connection between the work that we do on ourselves and the work that we do in the world. And this is something that I learned seriously, like one of the hardest ways, because I have Capricorn in my 6th house. And that means that since 2008, I've had Pluto just running a train through. You can't work until you love yourself, and you can't love yourself if you're doing all this work. And how are you being of service to yourself? Are you being of service to yourself in equality with others? And Pluto is that do or die, transform, or suffer the consequences kind of energy. And it can impact so many areas, especially health, habits, positive and negative. So this energy here is talking about your body and how you love yourself physically, but mentally and emotionally, because we have multiple bodies. We've got so many different ones, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, etheric. We've got all of these different bodies, whether they're energetic or tangible. And this is really asking you to look at how there is a correlation between the physical and the intangible, or the spiritual or metaphysical. So I got this hydration, nourishment, emotions and divinity and connection, orange and purple, because the colors that I'm wearing right now are orange and purple. And it was very, very specific. Like I had to dig through my sock basket to find the exact right socks, all of that. And I got sacral and crown chakra. So this is tying this sense of creativity and water energy with your mindset and your understanding, your higher level of understanding. Then I got self-care, skin and hair care, the mind-body connection, the call to water and more fulfilling, like drinks, foods, lotions, time to self. Apply it how it resonates, if it resonates for you guys. But then I got this message of your energy shifted somewhere to see your needs clearer. For some, this is something that is coming up over time here, especially during Sagittarius season this year. I was going to say Scorpio season, but Sagittarius season came out. So you may want to watch for that. I believe Sagittarius season starts on November 21st this year. So coming in a building and then in unfolding over the next 2 years. So from 2024 to 2026, you may be seeing a lot of growth, a lot of deep mental, physical, and emotional healing over that time, as though just that spark gets lit within you during Sagittarius season. And that spark becomes this flame that really helps push you forward. And there's this strong self-love energy. Like there were seeds that were planted, and I'm getting years ago. You may not even have been fully aware of the seeds being planted, but those seeds that were planted are now sprouting and blossoming. And then I was seeing like fields and fields of this beautiful verdant green color, and they were all 4-leaf clovers. But it was fields that were within your heart, within your soul, within your energy, all of these 4-leaf clovers. And we often associate 4-leaf clovers with good luck. And then I got a change of heart equals a change of luck. And then I heard the luck of the Irish, and then make ye wishes, as though like a little leprechaun is like, okay, it's time for you to make your wishes, because now is the time for your wishes to come true. So the way this reading works is, this is about the current archetypal energy that you are working with right now at this phase in your life. However long this phase may last, it may just last until the end of Scorpio season, and you guys may be shifting really quickly when Sagittarius season comes up. But the current archetypal phase that you're working in is one that is incredibly profound in your life. And you get the option of whether this archetypal phase is going to play out in whatever way. We also have, so I was doing a play off of the angel and the devil on your shoulder that like pops up in 90s sitcoms, and they tell you what to do and they try and give you advice. So it's like your consciousness or your conscience, and that part of you that kind of the shadow that really urges you to like just do it the easy way, or what have you. So we have the angel tarot and the demon tarot. The angel tarot is that angel on your shoulder, but how that the intention of this reading is these are the conscious influences. These are the things that you're aware of that are influencing you at this given point in time. And then we have the Demon Tarot, which is the unconscious influences. So this is a part within your shadow, something that is repressed or pushed away, something that is denied, rejected within you, that is still having an influence on you, whether you realize it or not. So the archetypal phase that we have here is the puppeteer. And it is water energy. So it is that sacral energy. And it says explanations and apologies. And the figures on here is what caught me, because they had these holes in their hearts, and that's where the strings are really coming forward to. But this is where I got the Saturn and Venus energy, is through this thumb. That is the Venusian energy. And the middle finger is represented by Saturn energy. And I find it funny because I usually wear a ring on my thumb and one on my middle finger. And I was drawn to having just Saturn energy when I finally sat down. And that really caught me because I don't normally wear rings on Saturn's finger if I can avoid it, because it can be overwhelming, especially working with these higher energy stones like I do right now with moldavite and phenakite. But with this puppeteer energy, I was actually getting like carnival vibes or circus vibes, but more so carnival vibes. And I got like a carnival, a soothsayer, a fortune teller. And then I got the one who sees and the one who feels, power being projected from the background, and the subtlety of influences and its karmic imprint. So karma, again, is just cause and effect. But a cause and effect can have an imprint on our life, whether it is from somewhere in the background of our life or something deep inside of us. I was getting a lot of Piscean energy as well, with stripping of illusions for you, with Neptune moving through those end degrees of Pisces, and especially in retrograde season. There tends to be a lot of stripping of illusions. And what I'm getting from your energy in particular, is the stripping of illusions started this spring when Venus moved through Pisces and past Neptune's energy, and kind of welcomed in this new cycle of self-love. Kind of a slow start is what I'm getting from it. But as these illusions are stripped away, we start to realize all the things that we have allowed ourselves to believe about our own beauty, our artistry, our values, our worth. And we don't necessarily know where we pulled them from. You know, we can go to tarot readings and be like, well, you tell me, but that's not always how it works. We don't always know. I don't know. I don't know your life. Every life is different. Every experience is different. And every interpretation of the experience is very, very subjective and very, very unique. So I can give you these pieces, but they're just pieces. And these are collective pieces, and it depends on whether it resonates. So please use your discernment. But in this way, what I'm getting is it's like there is this energy of, I don't necessarily want to see, but every time I touch this area of my life, or I engage in this something or other, I feel this sense of like my worth and my value and my ability to move forward, my limitations and restrictions just from the heart being just stabbed through and pulled and directed. And it's as though everybody has a say in it except for me. But the person who has the ultimate say in anything in any of our lives is ourselves. We don't always realize that because we don't always know how to empower ourselves. I was never taught how to love myself. I was taught how to be there for others, how to be whatever others need. But I was never taught to do that for myself. And my husband has been trying to help me learn that it's safe for me to teach myself that, to nurture myself that, to remother myself, to reparent myself so that I can get in touch with that. So your conscious influences here, you have the angel of Haziel, I believe is how you pronounce it. And it's the Hierophant energy. So this is Taurian energy. And the card number 9 actually links a lot energetically to the Hierophant, but I'm also getting like the 9 of Swords and the 9 of Wands. So like the wounds and the battles and the damage to your mind, but also the damage to your ability or your desire to go into the mind. Like you would rather build a wall and live by that wall. And it says the merciful God, but you have all of the fixed signs represented here. And when we get into this fixed energy, this fixed way of being, so if we are fixed in this mentality that has us very pulled back, it can be very hard. And this is about divine forgiveness. And it says obtains friendships and favors of the great and secures promises. Now, I find it funny because we have explanations and apologies and secures promises. And this is about recognizing that sometimes we think that promises made externally matter more than the promises that we make to ourselves. But in reality, if we can't keep the promises to ourselves, then what we're doing is we're actually inviting in the energy of broken promises from other people. And that is a really hard thing to accept. And I understand it's a really hard thing to accept because I've been there. But this is about recognizing how forgiveness works. The message that I got is this fixed focus on letting go of what was. You're divinely guided and divinely protected far more than you realize. You have so much more help around you and so much more support around you. But sometimes we just simply can't see that. We can't see it because we're in it. We are our own biggest blind spots. And I got this energy about the way that things are going in the heavens, because right now we have Jupiter, who is Sagittarius's ruler, in the sign of Gemini, but we also have Mercury moving through Sagittarius. So the rulers of each of these signs are opposing each other in houses in which they have no strength because they're in their sister signs. And we don't always know how to work with the opposite energy. So your ruler, or Sagittarius's ruler, is being challenged by Mercury and ever-changing stories, yours versus others. Do you know how to blend your two sides with an inner showdown? So it's taking this energy of realizing the difference between the centaur and the divine and human twins. The divine and human twins are two different aspects that represent the same energy, two sides to the same coin, but at the same time, those two sides represent one side of the coin between them and Sagittarius. And Sagittarius as a centaur is that blending of energies. They are one. They're one being. They have integrated those two aspects. And sometimes that gets really hard because Gemini sees so many different aspects, and Sagittarius sees primarily the higher aspect because they have elevated enough. And so the truth here is what will lead you to your freedom. It's found through grace, through forgiveness of self, and the fiery truth burning to be set free within you. I don't know what this truth is, and this may or may not resonate, this last message. It may or may not resonate for some of you. But that's just the message that came through. So what is the truth that is ready to be awakened? And can you recognize it? Do you recognize it? Are you applying it to something outside of yourself? Or is it a truth about yourself that you have, I was going to say, longed to see and have not long seen? It's almost as though you're on that precipice of like when the sun finally shifts in the sky, and you know when the sun shifts to that one point over the horizon that you are going to have that longer shadow. And when we have that longer shadow, we may be able to find it a lot easier. But it also means that it takes up a lot more space and it asks us to engage more. Sometimes the only truth that we can find is within that lengthening of the shadow, within that time in which we spend with that shadow, with that part, or all of the parts of ourselves that we shove down and we shove away and we're told are bad or unwelcome, or what have you. Just anything that we're told negative about parts of ourselves that make us reject those parts. So in your conscious influences, there is this energy of understanding that there is a challenge that you're feeling to let something free within you finally. Your unconscious, you have tap, but he's also gap or gop, G-A-A-P. And it says, he was once a heavenly order of powers. He's now a high prince who commands 66 military units, in addition to his positions as ruler and advisor to the 4 kings of hell. And that I thought was really interesting because it was like the 4 kings of the tarot, the swords, the wands, the cups, the pentacles, those 4 kings in the reverse, he is the advisor of, which means you're the advisor of the divine masculine shadow energy in your unconscious influences. And the message I got is the pull to expanding outside of the known, pressurized from deep within. And there's this fear of the force of the divine masculine within to be free from limits, free from boundaries, free from any kind of constraints, whether it's human conditioning or your divine calling. Anywhere that you're feeling these limitations and these constraints, there is this calling. And there are gifts that are within you that are ready to be embodied. And that is what I'm getting from this unconscious influence. It's like you can see that you're being called, that you're being pulled to doing these things. But despite all of that, you still aren't really sure, like, there's a lot that's within me that I haven't tapped into, I haven't looked at, and I'm not really sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how to expand these things, and that's okay. We don't always know how to do that. We have to learn, or not have to, but it's about choosing. What is the right choice for us? Choice is a really powerful word. I was actually having this conversation with my sister recently. I've been going to therapy for a little over a year now. And one of the greatest things I have learned in therapy, and I have to keep relearning it because I go through phases where I brain dump the F out of it, is the word choice. Choice in place of should, could, would, don't, won't, want, anything like that. Any kind of negator, any kind of diminishing, any kind of like obligational energy. So I kept saying, I really need to write. I really should write. But I was obligating myself to it and putting an expectation upon myself to do that instead of saying, I choose to write. It fills me up. It brings me joy. It's something I love. So I choose it. I choose to sit here and channel messages. I choose to tap into these energies and work with them and work with you. I choose these things instead of, I should really sit down and do Sagittarius's reading. No, I choose to do it. And in that way, I am choosing to come as an equal, as a partner in all of this. And it's a very empowering thing. Choice is very empowering. So this is about you learning how to make the choices that are right for you. And sometimes when we're working with our shadow, we aren't really sure if the choices we're making are the right ones. So we're going to get just a few tarot messages here. There's 5 placements that I have set energetically. What you don't see about the current archetypal phase, what challenges you about this phase, where you can find help, connecting with your higher self, and connecting more with your shadow. And then as far as the 6th intention, we have these cards. These are self-love questions and just a little bit of oracle guidance for you to engage in on your own outside of this reading, if you so choose, if it resonates. These cards themselves have been pulled, but I don't intend on divining them because they're for your personal engagement. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Curious. So what don't you see about the current archetypal phase? We have perfection. There was another there was another sign that got this, and I can't remember who it was, but this is the Four of Wands. And usually the Four of Wands is the card about celebration, harmony, union, marriage. In this deck, it talks about perfection and the spine. And this is interesting because we think about what the backbone is. The backbone is our strength. It's our stability. It's our alignment. And we can think there are pieces of these things that have to be perfect. I have to have this sense of perfection. Or we can look at our unions and our marriages in, metaphorical as well as, tangible physical connection ways and think, well, it has to be perfect. I have to be perfect while I'm in it. Perfection energy can be really good for us, or it can be very, very damaging for us. For me, I had such strong perfectionist tendencies that I wouldn't allow my creations to ever be seen by the world because they were never good enough. I needed it to be more perfected. It needed to be better. I needed whatever, what have you. And something that I have had to learn on my journey is perfect doesn't exist. And it does. We're already perfect. Everything is already perfect, but we're also very imperfect because we are human. So we are infallible. So we can look at this perfection energy and realize that there are things that we hold ourselves back from because we think that we have to be perfect, and we can just let that go. And I know that sounds crazy. Trust me, I know that sounds crazy. Like we can just let it go, just blah, 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 blah. But we can. We can make that choice and say, you know what, this isn't suitable for me anymore. I can't sustain this because I'm holding myself to a higher standard than I hold anyone or anything else to. And I think that I have to fulfill this. So this archetypal phase, there are things coming in to help break you free of this perfectionist. This idea that you have to be a specific way. Whether it's somebody coming in and apologizing to you, whether it is you making apologies and amends to others, whether it is just simply you forgiving your own heart and soul, saying, I'm sorry I held you to such a high standard. I accept with grace and compassion my fallibility, my inner workings, and I see how perfect my imperfections are. Whether you're getting explanations for things that you never really thought that you would be able to understand or what have you, this archetypal phase, what you don't see about it is it's intended to help you see things through a more perfect lens that doesn't involve you engaging actively in perfectionism all the time, because it can be very, very hurtful. All right. Sorry, I had to answer my husband. He's getting ready to leave in, like he said, 10 or 15 minutes, which means that I've got about 20 minutes. So that should be perfect because Spirit's like, yeah, you'll have time. So what challenges you about this? I mean, I'm sorry. I literally just heard your guides laughing and going, they're saying what doesn't challenge me. Stability, the Four of Coins. So we've got repetitive fours, and this is about your place in life. So what challenges you about this is the familiarity with this perfectionism and whether you can actually find some sort of stability in your life outside of that. You want something that is familiar, something that is comfortable. Yeah, I get that. I do too. I'm very fixed energy. I'm a Leo rising. All of my angles are in the fixed signs. So even though I have a lot of planetary influences outside of that energy, that is the predominant energy in my chart. And that is what I came here to really address in my life, is this fixed way of being. So if you have this kind of fixed perfectionism, your desire for stability, you're going to cling to anything that you feel is exactly right for you. And those are the things that we oftentimes feel get taken from us. We oftentimes feel the loss of the deepest, that assurance, that comfortability, that stability. So as this perfectionism comes to an end, that gets challenged and you start realizing, I don't have to have that. It doesn't have to be that way. Now we're getting challenged to see how we can be stable within ourselves instead of outside of ourselves, how we can find that stability within ourselves that says that I can change consistently and constantly. Change can be my norm so that I don't have to have something stuck and fixed and exact and try and be perfect. Let me be fallible. Let me change. Let me grow. So let's find out where you can find help. We have the Queen of Discs out in the garden. Out in the garden. But more so, the Queen of Discs or the Queen of Coins, this talks a lot about nurturing. So Professor Sprout is the herbology professor. She spends a lot of time in her greenhouses, and she spends a lot of time getting to know her different plants and nurturing them and talking to them. So this is about the things that we want to grow in our life. It's about recognizing that that stability comes from you sitting in that energy of that nurturance. And we can nurture other people constantly. But if we're not nurturing ourselves, if we're not nurturing the things that fill us up, that bring us joy, that bring us fulfillment, the things that we love just simply because we love them, if we're not giving that nurturance to that, then we are really challenging our ability to be strong within ourselves because we're just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. And the nature of the divine feminine is in receptivity, learning to be able to say, you know what, I need to receive this, whether it's from myself or whether it's from doing these different activities or whether it's from this engagement or what have you. I need to receive this. So help can be found when you step into this energy of recognizing your own ability to just nurture yourself and really engage in different aspects of yourself, having those conversations and growing those seeds of self-love. So we want to connect with your higher or your inner self. We have Ace of Cups. It's about taking a chance. And I know this is Salazar Slytherin, but with the Ace of Cups, it's this new love. And that was the message that came through about Neptune and Venus is it's opening a new cycle, but it's a cycle of self-love. And we can start new cycles, with our partners. That's something that my husband and I did. We've been doing a lot of growing our own conscious understanding of life and ourselves and doing it together so that we can grow together, but actually getting to know each other on a much deeper level and getting to know ourselves on a deeper level simultaneously. So we have all of these revelations about ourselves at the same time as we're sharing it with one another. So it becomes this really big adventure. But doing that for yourself can also be one of the greatest adventures of life. And I'm sorry if you guys just heard like crackling or anything. My hair literally got stuck in my microphone. So this is about offering yourself this new start, this new journey. How can you connect with your shadow? We have the World. Let the past be in the past. Look at all the things that have been lost, but also look at the power that you have to transcend those losses. Because you contain everything that you need. Harry is standing here and he's holding all the Deathly Hallows. You contain everything that you need to transcend that loss, to transcend that ending, to move forward into the next phase. But you have to see that you have that within yourself. And that's what's in your shadow. So connecting with your shadow is recognizing all the tools and all the gifts and all the blessings that you have within yourself to start that new phase. So let's move into these self-love questions. This energy is literally like, get it out and let them go, because there's like this almost eagerness that I now feel in your energy. So we're going to do the sacred symbols and the House of Night card first. So with the sacred symbols, we have truth in the card 25. 25 reduces down to a 7, and 7 is about discovery and adventure and looking into things and finding it, that knowledge. So this is, and then you have the feather, like the feather of Ma'at, and that is what is weighed against the heart to find out whether you are an honest and pure heart and pure soul at the end of life. And then we have the card number 2 with a warrior. And 2 is that divine feminine energy, even if you have a masculine figure on this card. So where is it that you are ready to fight? What is the truth of of what your warrior energy gets triggered as? And there's a lot of blue here, so you might want to look at the things that you speak up about and the things that you stay silent about. And I know I wasn't going to divine these cards, but these are the messages coming through. And my hair got caught on the microphone again. So first of all, we have this. What emotional weight am I carrying? And why am I carrying it? And this is back to that energy of, partnering with your emotions. I'm going to put that here. And then we have list my 5 greatest accomplishments thus far. Sometimes when we do things like listing our accomplishments, listing like genuine gratitude points or seeing, for me, it was celebrating small successes. Doing those things can help shift your perspective of yourself in a way that nobody else can help you with, because you're going, okay, I had this one small win. For me, I got to film today. I'm going to edit, I'm going to upload, and I'm going to have supper with my family. Something that I've been craving that I haven't had for a really long time. I love lasagna. Love it. But my house is clean. I took a shower and really cleansed my body and really gave to my body. Even though my heart is struggling, even though my body is struggling, I was still able to do these things. These are wins. They may seem small to some people. I may play them down as being small, but these are really big accomplishments for me. Making supper 2 nights in a row, it's a huge accomplishment for me. It simply is, because I am struggling that much physically. Sometimes giving ourselves that opportunity to look at the positive is exactly what we need to understand the truth of ourselves, to understand where we need to speak up for ourselves, to understand where we need to bring more balance in from the way that we were imbalanced in the past. Sometimes we need to give ourselves the explanations that we have been pushing away so that we can break ourselves free from anybody else. All right, Sagittarius, this is the reading that I have for you. I want to take the time to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you to your guides. Thank you to my guides. Thank you to the Great Spirit, to the cosmic energies and the professors in the sky. And thank you so much to the Divine Creator. Thank you so much, especially to the ancestors and to everybody who has been drawn here to this reading from wherever, whether they are familiar or unfamiliar with these readings and with me. Just thank you. Thank you for the existence of this Sagittarius collective in the world. All right, guys. I love you all, and I will see you at my next reading. Bye. Bye.